Greetings. Peace, everybody. Welcome to Community Radio. Welcome back. I'm Kim, your host. And today is Friday, so we've reached the end of the Strong. We've had a lot of good, interesting topics to come up throughout the Strong. And as always, we can continue those conversations if you called in maybe and didn't get a chance to speak, or if you had a comment about it. The number to call is 515-605-9862. Just press the number 1 and I'll be glad to bring you in. So before we get started today, I just wanted to inform you all of a few things. If you would like to be a part of the men's call or the women's call that we have, the women's call we have every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And the men's call is, I believe it's the first Sunday of the month. If you would like to be a part of either of those calls, make sure you get signed up with onewlifeglobal.org. All you have to do is just register. There's no fee, there's no cost or anything. You don't have to be in the class or anything. You know, if you just want to be a part of that call and join the ministry, you're welcome to do so. You can do that on onewlifeglobal.org. And you can also sign up through the Anu Nation app if you have an Android phone. Okay. Also, I want you to remind you to visit seduluhouse.com. This is where we offer all of the classes, from the classes just on individual spiritual concepts to the Anu Spiritual Training Phase 1 and the Orisha class. So anything that we distribute as far as class material can be found there. If you would like to catch up on some of the old shows that we have archived, you can go to enlightenmentandtransformation.com. That's the website, enlightenmentandtransformation.com, where you'll find blog posts as well as a lot of old shows. And you can go to our YouTube channel, Enlightenment and Transformation. I also have a page, and the title of my page is Serious Bitch, SIRIUSBITCH. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and you can go to the website, seriousbitch.com. On that website, you can also view the same classes that we offer on Sedulu House, so you can go either place to register for those classes, and you can get spiritual work done on your behalf. So if you're not too comfortable with rituals and things just yet, I can do them for you. I offer services in the areas of money, love, protection, and blockage removal. So that's been a really good experience so far with the clients that I've had. So I encourage you to visit that website if you need help in that area. Also, we have the Anu Phase 1 Challenge. And that's for those of you who would like to be more involved with Anu Nation and some of the projects that we have going on. You have to at least have completed Phase 1 of the training. And that's just so that you can be acclimated to the culture and that everybody's on the same page, you know, and everything, so that we can move forward with a lot of the projects that we have. There's a lot going on. There's a prison ministry, there's a Africa initiative, there's, you know, all the radio shows and things that we have, the classes. Let's see, there's so much, you know. Chief has a lot of projects already, you know, happening, as well as a lot of things in the works. So if you would like to be a part of any of those, you have to complete the training. So you can join us for the Phase 1 Challenge. And there will be more information coming on that. But as for now, you can go to seduluhouse.com and just type in Phase 1 Challenge in the search part of that website, and it'll take you to the page to get updates. We're actually going to kind of kickstart it off again, like in a couple of Strong, just for those of you who may not exactly know where to go or what to do. So we're going to be adding a lot more information about that and how to actually be a part of the challenge, and some other support things that you can have for support to get through the class. For those of you that are in the class that, you know, you can still go at at your own pace. There's no rush. We do realize that it takes a while to get through some of the classes because some of the exercises are pretty tough. And I don't mean, tough as in like you have to figure out what something, definitions and what things mean or memorizing things. It's just that once you start these exercises, it's going to bring up a lot of changes and things in your life and things you have to re-examine. So it's very, can I say interactive? I guess you could say interactive. It's definitely a life changer because the first phase is ministry to self. So it's about working through a lot of issues that you may have and some things that you may that may have been, kind of tucked away in your, you may have pushed down in your subconscious for a long time that you didn't even realize, you had issues with, so a lot of things will come up as you're going through this exercise. There are a lot of rituals in the class and just a lot of different things that will kind of push you to get out of your comfort zone a little bit and explore some of those things that may be going on. So we do realize that it takes a while, so if you're still kind of working your way through it, that's fine too. But if you would like to participate in the challenge, you're definitely encouraged to sign up for that. And for the new year, for the Anu New Year, which is in June, there will be a retreat and a huge celebration and ceremony that we're going to have for those who have completed it. And that will be an absolutely awesome experience. So if you'd like to be a part of that, make sure that you sign up for the challenge. I'm looking forward to it. All right. So today, and just for you, those of you on the line, just press the number 1 if you have any topic that you would like to discuss. Like I said, we've had a lot of good topics to come up this strong where we've kind of been working through some things. And so if you'd like to say anything about anything you've heard, any of the comments that have been left on the videos or anything, that's perfectly fine. I just kind of wanted to talk about just the inauguration today. I was watching a little bit of it today, and I think some things are still going on surrounding the inauguration. And a lot of the news has kind of been saturated with, just kind of like a kind of like this doomsday kind of feeling, that everybody kind of has just behind Trump being the 45th president now. He has already been inaugurated. So he is now the president. And a lot of people, especially African Americans, have a lot of not so great feelings about it. I was reading an article online that was saying, we're all doomed now. And they were just naming, different ways that they feel like Black people or African American people are just doomed now that Trump's in office, and just, the United States in itself. And I've seen pictures like United States of America, like on a tombstone. Everybody feels like democracy is dead. Gas prices are going to go up. Global warming is going to, take us under. Everybody's concerned about healthcare, women's rights in the workplace, this whole voice of the alternate right, white supremacy kind of thing. It's bringing everybody out of the shadows now. It's like, a flag has gone up saying it's okay to come out now, so that's something. They were talking about just, even having, the right to vote is going to be an issue. How other countries are going to, laugh at us now because they don't take Trump seriously. People have been joking just about his tweets and, how he's always on Twitter and things like that. I've even heard of things about, they're complaining about everything: vaccinations, jobs, again, women's rights as far as, like birth control and everything. And just, again, just this whole thing about this ultimate white supremacy type vibe that's going on, everybody feels is going on, which I don't feel ever went away, but now I guess everybody feels like it'll be more pronounced, And so I just kind of wanted to ask the listening audience, how do you feel? And I've seen posts, on Facebook and Instagram and just different places where a lot of people feel very attached to Obama and very attached to the fact that he's no longer president. I don't know, they feel like, almost like a family member has died or it has gone away or something. And I just wonder, are you feeling the same way? Are you affected by this? How do you feel about it? Is it a problem? Do you think that this is like the end of something? Are we in the middle of like a huge transformation? Or, where we have to just kind of now redefine ourselves and kind of just accept some things? Or is this like the beginning of some type of revolution amongst people? I spoke yesterday about, here we've had like a lot of school closings and how a lot of people have been protesting and they're upset about a lot of the school closings around where I live. And I looked at it as a way of kind of taking control of your children's education, because now you have the option to homeschool your kids instead, because these were the same people that were complaining about the curriculum. So, sometimes our soul will orchestrate things in a way to where you have to transform. Things just get so horrible or so, will hit a wall, and it will force you to make some changes in your life or force you to transform, because, as long as we're kind of comfortable, you won't make those changes, And so I kind of, look at this situation the same way. It's almost like we're being, like now you're being forced to have to make a decision, make a hard decision about a lot of things. And one of the things that we always talk about on this show, of course, is culture, American culture, and just choosing the culture that you wish to be a part of. And so to me, it's like a real defining moment. Like now you are at a point where you have to kind of go ahead and make that decision or make those changes that are necessary to take control of your family, your economy, your children, your spouse, whoever it may be. It's just, it's just come to this point now. So I don't know. What do you think? Is it a time of transformation? Is it a time of, is it death for some people? Because some people feel like this is just it. They've given up hope. They don't know, what's going to happen. They are just, you have people saying that, Trump is an illegitimate president and, he shouldn't be, you have people actually trying to stop him from becoming president, as if this is, almost like you really had a choice. I don't know. What do you all think? The number to call in again is 515-605-9862. Just press the number 1. And I also want to encourage you all, don't be afraid to speak. We don't know your name. We don't have your, picture or anything like that. We have a lot of listeners, and part of the reason, Chief spoke to this on Sunday's Chief Speaks, is that, we have, and this kind of speaks to this transformation and all these changes going on with the country and everything. We have a lot of people that tune in and listen, but very few people actually participate in the things that's going on. And I don't know if it's, just fear, or is everybody afraid to speak, or, or what. But when we don't make definitive choices, when we don't, that SU energy that makes you, look, you got to make a decision. You're going to go left or right, or what are you going to do? SU kind of forces you to make those decisions. When you don't, again, your soul kind of orchestrates things to happen in your life to where you are pushed to that point. So it's the same thing, with the country, same thing with these schools closing, same thing, even, with even within our new, where, we have to start making some changes. Chief has, always said that the more you give, the more he gives. And so, and we've also talked about reciprocity a lot, just within relationships and within a community. So same thing here. It's just, like at a point now where we have to really make some definitive decisions. I'm going to give you all some time to get your thoughts together. And if you would like to bring up a different topic, or if you'd like to, if there's anything you would like to discuss, we definitely can. Just press the number 1 or call 515-605-9862. And I'll be right back.
The Alpha Omega Store is a family-owned and operated premier online store serving.
Have you ever noticed that we use candles a lot now? We use them not just for their light, but to celebrate birthdays, weddings, and many other occasions. Well, why is that? Even in magic, we assume that the ritual hasn't begun until we light a candle. Did you know that in most African spiritual traditions, candles weren't even used? But nowadays, we make sure we incorporate them on our shrines and altars. So what exactly does the candle bring to the ritual or ceremony? Which part of the candle is more important? Or does it even matter what color the candle is? Many of us haven't really given much thought to this, but in Sadulu House's class-based webinar, Candle Magic, I discuss these questions and more. To sign up for this class, go to saduluhouse.com/store. All right, we're back. Welcome back to Community Radio. I'm your host, Kim, and we're just kind of, before the commercial, I was just discussing transformation and changes, and, how sometimes we get to a point where we have to make a definitive choice. I'm going to go to our first caller here. This is 662. Greetings.
Greetings, Sister Kim. How are you?
Peace. How are you?
Peace. I'm fine. I missed all the shows this week because I've been on. I started that new job I was telling you about, and it's 6 to 6A. Yeah.
Ooh.
But and speaking about the new president that we have, if we're part of our new, or if we're not, if we're in the mode of establishing our own culture, why should his election have that much impact on our lives? We still gonna have to work or do whatever we're doing to take care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, I mean, I like President Obama, but it's not like he did a whole bunch for black people either. So
yeah, it's true.
I don't see where it's gonna be that much of a difference. I mean, people do have an attitude where they feel like they can say what they want to say, but they've been doing that since President Obama got elected. It's not new because he got elected.
Yeah.
It's been this way for a while. So,
Did you vote?
I didn't this year, but I do most years. But I did not this year.
Why didn't you vote this year?
Actually, it just kind of slipped my mind. My intent was to go. Did I go? Let me think on that for a minute. I might have went. If I did, yes, I did vote. I voted for Hillary just simply because I didn't want Trump. I bought into the lesser of the two evils situation.
Okay.
So.
So, what made you vote? If you're saying like it really shouldn't matter, and you know what?
I vote because I feel like too many people. We lost too many people trying to get that right.
Mhm.
And to me, I don't know. It may not be that deep, but to me, it's just kind of a way of respecting their wishes. And it may not entirely not be that deep for some people, but for me,
yeah. Okay.
I just feel like that's the least I can do.
Has any of your family members or anybody around you been kind of obsessed with this whole thing, or been talking about it, or has it affected any of the people around you?
Not per se. Me and my sister, we talk about it all the time because we think our new president is he just don't appear to seem, I mean, I know he makes a lot of money, but going on how he acts on TV and everything, he doesn't appear to be very intelligent.
And
so.
That's you know, I was watching this inauguration, there was a point where I think the choir was singing America the Beautiful or something like that. They were singing, you know, some patriotic song. I don't even remember what it was, because sometimes when I watch the news, I just watch it on mute because I want to get a different sense of what's going on. And it was so funny. It's like everybody, including, you know, Obama, Michelle, and everybody else, you know, in that section where Trump was sitting, had this really kind of, you know, stoic look on their face, you know, where they act like they're feeling the moment, you know, they're really into it. And Trump is sitting here like he doesn't know what to do or how he should look. He's just kind of bobbing his head off beat and looking around. At one point, it was like he was trying to talk to somebody, get their attention, and the person wasn't paying attention to him. And it was just so funny because I'm looking at him. I'm like, gosh, this man has no soul. To me, it just, at that moment, I was like, I just busted out laughing because he looked so uncomfortable and so awkward in that moment, just compared to everybody else that was in that screenshot. And I just thought, wow, this is really interesting. It's just interesting, you know, like you said, and like the article I was reading was saying, is like, I don't know, he cannot be, I don't know, is he just that disconnected, you know, from everything? It's like, I don't know. I don't know what to think. But when I saw that and I'm watching it and I'm looking at everybody, then I saw his face, it was just hilarious. It was absolutely hilarious.
He may be that disconnected because he hasn't really had to live in the real world. You know what I'm saying? From what I'm understanding, if he don't want to pay somebody, he don't pay somebody. It ain't like us. If we get sued for not paying, then they're going to garnish us or something. And he gets away with not paying people when he doesn't want to. And he gets away with a lot of things that the average person wouldn't. So it may just not compute for him.
Yeah. I don't know. To me, like I said, that moment was so awkward. I don't know if anybody else was watching it earlier today. Like I said, I think there's still some things going on right now around it, but just before the inauguration, you know, while everything was going on, I was just looking at him, just sitting there. And I saw a clip, I think this was sometime last year too, where the same thing kind of happened. He visited this black church and they were they were singing or whatever. And just the look on his face and the awkwardness and, you know, just how he was just kind of bopping his head, you know, completely just oblivious.
It was his own world.
It was so weird, and I almost felt some kind of sympathy or something for him. I was like, just don't go, you know, just don't show up, because it just looks so bad. It just looks so awkward and so bad. I'm just like, he does not, like, you can obviously tell, like, he is such, I don't know if it's just that he's such a business person that, you know, sometimes business people can just seem really kind of cold and disconnect. Like they're just so business minded. They're not thinking about it. They just want to make the deal. You know what I mean? That they're oblivious to everything else. And it just seems like that's the case. Like he's just like, okay, I got to show up here. Let me just show up, boom, so I can get this deal done and I can get on out of here. You know what I mean? It's just like, you know, I don't know. That was my impression. But I was just like,
wonder why these black people were buying into his whatever he's talking about. I don't understand.
I don't know. We got a lot of people on the line. Maybe they'll, you know, voice their opinions on it or their comments on it. I don't know. I think a lot of people too, you know, prior to him coming into this whole election or the race or whatever, they may have had some business dealings with them. You know, you never know. Like some of the people that he's appointing to his cabinet and everything, you know, these people are, you know, very well connected. And as we know, like, you know, a lot of them are his business associates and possibly people that he's done deals with and everything too. So,
and they always say. But I did notice on this, and I didn't watch very much of the inauguration, but I watched the part where him and his wife were going to the White House and were being greeted by the Obamas. Well, the wife gave Michelle Obama a present, and she was looking around like, what am I going to do with this?
Just completely awkward. Just, you know, and we know there was some tension between Obama and Trump, you know, a lot of mudslinging and things going on, you know, during the election. And it's just interesting to see how they have to interact with each other on camera and put all that stuff aside and deal with each other. But yeah, it's just like, I mean, it's almost like you can just feel the tension. You can see it. You can just, I don't know. You know, it's just a really weird time. And you know, like I said, I don't know if this is like a period of just transformation where we just have to just kind of like evolve into something else. Like it's a period of evolution where there are some things that now we just have to kind of really face and deal with, or, you know, are people going to just kind of go into this upheaval of, you know, revolting and revolution, you know, or, you know, just what is it? You know, I'm just wondering what the next, you know, 4 years will bring, you know.
I would like to know. It's going to be interesting. To see. Because
being a business person and being the president, I don't know. I don't know.
It's two totally different things. He's got too much control over. And one thing I say, and it sounds bad, but I think about how other countries view us as a country. They have to think we got to be the dumbest people in the world for this to happen. Because the way we act, if we would elect somebody like that, then what does that say about us as a people?
Yeah. Well, we've also had other presidents, you know, that we didn't necessarily agree with. You got you got George Bush, you got Reagan, you got, you know, you got quite a long list, you know, of people. I don't know. Let me bring in 615. This is Brother Dietrich.
Okay.
Greetings.
Brittany, y'all doing all right?
Yeah. How are you?
We well. We doing well. I was talking with some coworkers about this subject, and I was like, you know, like Trump, to be honest with you, and me and my mentors was discussing this too. Trump really ain't the problem. You pretty much got a woman from Slovenia, which has only been a democratic nation for 15 years. So for the past 45 years, Slovenia, up until 45 years ago, Slovenia was communist. So this woman grew up in a communist nation. Her parents and grandparents are communists. Now you got a person like that in the White House that Donald Trump can't divorce because the president has to be married. That's why I think that's why they got her staying at the Trump Tower. So like you pretty much got a Russian spy in the office, in the Oval Office. So, but what we were saying was, how do you take advantage of a person who is stupid but money-minded like Trump? Like, people talk about how dumb he is and all that other stuff. So how do you take it? How do we capitalize on his perceived ignorance and his greed? He's a businessman.
Yeah, but can he be that much of a successful businessman and really be stupid?
That's what I'm saying. Like he money-minded. So like he's smart enough to get what he wants. But how do we? The question really is, how do we take advantage of how money-minded he is? Everything, he's a businessman. So how do we take advantage of him? So I think black people getting scared too quick. Okay, like Trump gonna do this, Trump gonna do that. Okay, how do we extort and exploit him? Because he a money guy. How do we do that?
Well, do you think that a lot of black people that have aligned themselves with Trump are thinking just that? You got people. Well, I don't know of everybody because I don't just keep up with it. But I know, like I've seen, like Steve Harvey's gotten a lot of flack. Kanye West has gotten a lot of flack, for meeting with him and everything. What do you think that those situations were about? Do you think that they're just saying, okay, I need to get a seat at the table so I can at least be in on it, or what?
The way I think, I have mixed feelings about that. I don't really know what his motive is, but if it was me, Trump offered me a position, I would take it just for the simple fact I want to know what they're doing. So like, you got to be. Have you seen the movie?
You got to be a part of it.
Yeah, at least I want to know what they're doing. So that's why I think Jim Brown and what's the name went there. They want to see what he's up to. So they're gonna go skip grinning and smiling like the monkey off of Planet of the Apes, and then take the gun, like something like that. Yeah, but how do we do that? That's what I want to know. Like let's go. Yes, the boss. I carry your pistols for you. I don't know how to shoot, but I can. and throw them away with it. That's what I'm thinking. That's the only thing you would do. Like that.
Let me bring in another caller and see what they have to say. This is 802. 802.
Hello there.
Peace.
Yes, hello. I just wanted to say, what do you guys think about secession as an idea?
What do we think about what?
Secession. Like separating from the federal government, because there's a lot of people who don't like Trump and don't want him to be their president. And if there was secession and decentralization, with smaller groups and governments, Trump could go be the president of more Republican states, and then the Democratic states. Like I live in Vermont, 802 is Vermont. The people here could have Bernie Sanders if they wanted it. I think it would be a lot happier.
Good point. What do you all think about that? You have some states that have done just that, like just completely seceded from the nation. What do you think? Is that something that you were talking about, Dietrich?
Well, this is what I was thinking. And what I was thinking was, you know how black people got this good habit of saying, I got Indian in my family? I think we need to start calling these. Go
ahead.
I was thinking it's time for us to start linking up with these Native Americans on these reservations that's technically not U.S. soil and start helping them develop their land like they did in Haiti. Because that's how they invented voodoo. Like you had the African immigrant mixed with the Arawak.
What kind of power do they have right now?
Sovereign land that's technically not part of the United States, and they don't. And the U.S. government don't have jurisdiction out there if they don't have a tribal police. So, like, if we're going to succeed, we got to go somewhere where there's sovereign land and the U.S. government can't, like, technically from a law perspective, can't come. So, like, if you got Chickasaw, Pontotoc, Tishomingo, Itawamba, time to find out if you got any birth rights to any Native American land and just succeed and just start living like the Amish as sovereign citizens on sovereign land. You know, that's the only thing I can think of. If you're gonna do that, you gotta have somewhere to go. Cause me and my mentor, we was talking about that. We was like, you know, and a Morris brother, they were saying that the United States government don't give reparations to individuals. They give reparations to nations. So you would have to claim a nation. So like what we would have to do, if you claim a nation, you have to be on sovereign land. And once you do that, then you can succeed and still get government funding like they do in Guam and in Japan, because Japan get reparations for what happened with them POWs. So like we would have to do that, and like it's places like, you know, Oyotunji Village is a place we could go because that's part of Nigeria. That's not U.S. soil. That Oba is linked was given that land from Oyotunji, that Gullah Geechee area in South Carolina. Like all that's technically.
Well, they've been facing a lot of things too. I've been reading a little bit about them. They're facing some things where their land is about to be taken away.
Yeah, because there's not enough of them. So like, if you're really pro-black, and I know those people down there. So like, if people are really pro-black, we can go and repopulate that sovereign Gullah Geechee territory and have somewhere for us to go that's not part of the United States. And I can make the phone call and start arranging that if people are really serious about succeeding in doing that. Because a lot of people got birthrights to the area because that Savannah, South Carolina coastal region was a big slave port. So a lot of people got ancestral land. That's Oyotunji got one of the most thorough and biggest Egungun egg bays in the world almost. Because like I said, it's technically Oyotunji is not part of the United States. It's part of Nigeria. Comes there all the time. But this particular, which is funny, because this year when he came down to Oyotunji, they wouldn't let him in. Like they wouldn't grant him his passport because he was supposed to go to Oyotunji. So he just ended up going to Baltimore. And the Oba of Oyotunji had to go see him. They wouldn't let him physically come to Oyotunji Village because Nigeria ain't part of Oyotunji ain't part of United States. None of it. So if we're really serious about this succeeding and saying, you know, screw Trump and he's not my president, then we got to go somewhere where there's a different jurisdiction as well as sovereign land by law the federal government can't touch, and by volume and number we can start policing ourselves and we can stop letting our children go to a judicial system that's not meant for them. That's if you don't mind, go mining some bush every now and then, you know.
Right. That's what I was about to bring up. Do you think people will actually do that?
You know who's going to start that? Country people going to start that because we've been doing it anyway. It ain't nothing for us to go gut a house and go lay sheetrock and build it from the ground up. It's really not hard to do. You really technically don't even need plumbing because you can use human manure toilets and rainwater because, like I said, Oyotunji, you can do that. And these other sovereign lands, you can collect rainwater because it's not under federal law. Now, you would have to stop paying the utility. Now, they work with the utility companies, but we would have, for anybody who knows plumbing, stuff like that, now is the time to start thinking about how we can start developing individual pockets of nations that's not connected to the U.S. government and start developing an army to at least a team of attorneys as well as, you know, former, you know, law enforcement officers that will help us protect where we at. Because the reason the Gullah Geechee is losing their lands because they don't have enough financial power to stop it. Because like all that land is zoned off for agriculture and there's no pipelines on it. So they can plant. It's just like when the families leave, because like the people out there don't support nothing with that. So like they starved them out down there, just like they did them islands out in Georgia, because it's an island chain out in Georgia too. They just going and buying it up. So like if we got people to invest in our sovereign land, then we'll be fine because it's birthrighted to us. But you know, if you're not gonna come down there in numbers, then it ain't gonna work. That's the only way that's gonna work.
Well, you know, there have been a lot of people campaigning to try to do just that. But it's just like, you know, if you have people that are already there who have been in it that can't sustain it, it's almost like, you know, what kind of chance do you have into convincing people who aren't? Because think about the different ideologies of African Americans. I mean, I have to think, like, is that really realistic? Even when I'm thinking just about the things that we're doing with I Knew. You know, we got a lot of people that like the videos, that you know, leave comments, thanks, Chief, blah, 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 blah. But when it comes to actually joining the class, we're not even talking about putting in the work just yet. Go ahead.
But them type of people, you don't even concern yourself with them. What you got to concern yourself with are the ones who got the skills and the balls to do it. Then that's when you start working your foreign diplomacy. Remember how we had a show about, you know, the difference between Africans and African Americans? We have to get in that immigration office and start sending the Africans that come to Oyotunji instead of to these larger cities. So we can set up a branch of a sponsorship program, because you can do that privately, where you housing and where you immigration intake office, and start sending the indigenous Africans that already know how to live like that down there, and then we go down there and help modernize it. Like I said, you can create a whole city. You can create an entire city with shipping containers, because they're down there in Savannah. Like, it's so many of them that it costs more to send them back than to do to sell them. So what the Gentiles are doing now, they just taking like 40-foot high cube shipping containers and making houses out of them, and they're selling them at market price, because it's waterproof, it's stormproof, and they're meant to stack. So like, it's really not hard to do. Within, like, if you take a group of determined people down there for like maybe $50,000, you can develop that land because it's already there. The thing that's killing the Gullah Geechee people is that the young people are moving away, and they don't have any clients.
Right.
So if everybody go down there and start a business it's just out of a shipping container, we'll actually be up and running within like 5 years. If not sooner than that. Because like I said, I know the guy who got the discount down there, not only in Savannah, up here in Atlanta. We can go get them on a low boy. They ain't nothing but a 40-foot high cube shipping container ain't nothing but $1,500. And if we buy a whole barge full of them, they can drop them down to $1,000 a piece, because it's too many of them. And that way we corner the market on something that's about to blow up within the next couple of years, because they're gonna start knocking all these hood houses down, and they buying them up down here in Georgia, to the point to where you got people, they got gentrification tour buses riding around to different areas of Atlanta. So how much will it take to get you to move out of your house? You know, this checkbook, you know, I can write a lot of numbers on this checkbook, and they just gonna build them up from the ground. But with shipping containers, if you don't have a foundation, then they don't charge you property taxes. So it can be developed fairly quick if you go down there with some know-how and, you know, with some people who actually got the gall to do it. I don't mind sleeping outside. I done that before. So it wouldn't bother me. But if I know you bring your business down, and we bring a doctor down, we bring an attorney down, all it takes is a community of people who will actually contribute to what's going on. And that's enough right there just to show people what we're doing. And then start getting the immigrants to come, like those people that's coming from Sudan and Somalia. I'm like, look, y'all come down here with us. Don't go in that city. And you can literally build what you want. You start your own school district. You start your own economy based off of people who need it.
So do you feel like this is a chance of reformation instead of like a doomsday type thing? You don't look at it as like some people have looked at it, just like, oh my gosh, everything's going to pot now.
No, I look at it as now everybody finna get called a tag. We finna see who really like power. Now, are you Hotepin, Ashayan, Alafia people? Now you got a chance to see what the forefathers did. How many pyramids can we build in Gullah Geechee territory? How many islands can we buy? You know, how many of y'all really ready to go pull that Imhotep type style teaching and developing like your forefathers did? So I think it's a call for the Black Panthers, the Amun-Ra Squad, this is a call to tab. Are you gonna sit up and fall with Babylon, or are you gonna recreate what you said you take part of?
Yeah. Let me go to another call real quick, and then I'll let you continue, Dietrich. This is 115.
Sister Kim.
Greetings, Steve. Steve,
how are you?
You snuck in on us today. I was like 115. Greetings. The number didn't look familiar.
Yeah. I sent an email to customer services, so I'm sure someone will pick that up soon.
Oh, okay.
I've been having difficulties calling in on the other number, so just gave you some information anyway.
Okay. Thanks.
So anyway, thank you for taking my call.
No problem.
Yeah, Trump's in and Obama's out, and I don't think that will make much difference to African Americans from where I am sitting. It doesn't matter. From my observations, it doesn't matter who's in power.
Right.
African Americans are always the bottom of the pile, and at least Trump is honest. You know, he's not pretending to say that he wants to elevate African Americans. He's saying the opposite. So before, when we were sleeping and when we were hoodwinked by the messages of maybe the Democratic Party that they want to look after the African Americans, and they haven't done so. Not just Obama, but historically they've not really looked after African Americans. But we've been seduced by the message. Now the message is clear. The message is clear. Yeah. So even those that were seduced now have to wake up and do something different. But I also wanted to comment on, I'm not sure if you've been personally following it, Sister Kim, but there's been some significant developments in Gambia 2 or 3 months. The existing president, or the former president, was voted out November, December time. He said he's not leaving. He recently enforced martial law. It was a couple of songs ago we enforced martial law. The guy that won, somebody called Barrow, who won the election, he had to go to Senegal, which is a neighbouring country, because he was fearful for his life.
Wow.
And what happened, and I think it's linked to partly linked to this discussion. The United Nations, they passed some, when they passed other clauses or whatever or statements, they authorized statements. So they recognized the new man that won, that was Barrow, and they also authorized the Nigerian armed forces, the Senegalese armed forces, and the Ghanaian armed forces to set up camp on the Senegalese border of Gambia. And within the last 24 hours, they've driven into the capital of Gambia, and they've and the army chief, who was highly supportive of the former president, he's given way and he's recognizing the new government. So, really, I'm giving that just as to update the annual listeners, because that is of interest to me. I think it's of interest to the African community, but also to highlight the fact that even though Gambia has been an independent country since 1965, when the United Nations, as part of the United Nations, when the United Nations and their Security Council doesn't include any African countries, when their Security Council gives the go-ahead, then they can authorize the movement of arms and troops from one country in Africa to the other. And they gave the go-ahead for that armed force to go into the capital of Gambia to basically tell the former president he needs to leave town. So I just really wanted to highlight that even though there's there's a need for independence of African people and liberation of African people living in the diaspora, many of the countries in the African continent are still linked to the International Monetary Fund, they're linked to the United Nations, so the influence of the West is very high and very strong, as evidenced in, I think it's partly evidenced in what I've just spoken to about Gambia. But yeah, it was just really interesting. I mean, a week ago, Gambia is a holiday destination for many Europeans in the winter months, because it's like 30, 35 degrees during the European winter. And they evacuated all the Europeans, probably Monday, Tuesday, this week.
Wow.
The European countries sent in planes to take out all the holidaymakers just in case there was civil war. Because since Gambia was independent, there's never been a peaceful transition from one government to the other. It's always been by coup. So, but it's a beautiful country. I've been there a couple of times. I love the place. I would never, ever say a bad word about Gambia. But it's just interesting how the Western media wrote the story, getting people's anxieties up.
Yeah.
And now, if I was on there on holiday, Sister Kim, I wouldn't have left for sure. Not at all.
What's the reason why the old president won't leave? What's going on?
Okay, so I think he came to power in the early 90s, and he generally won the elections in the past. But my understanding is, from Gambians that I do know, is that his policies have been quite divisive in terms of he'd been looking after his own tribe, and I think he's Wolof, but you also have Mandinka and Fuller communities within that particular nation. And his policy had been looking after his own tribe. That's what the perception was. So the other parties then had, basically the election was based on tribal grounds.
Okay.
And so, so the people, and as you know, Gambia is it's a European construct. The proper region, or the proper name of the region, is Senegambia, and families have been split because of the demarcation of Senegambia, which was Senegal, which was French and historically French, and French colonized, and Gambia was British colonized. Basically, they split families just by dividing the country in the way that they did. But they're one people, they're one group of people, they have one line going back for centuries, thousands of years.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was the president there. That was the president there, man. So, you know, anyway, I just really wanted to share that with yourself and the listeners, really, is to, you know, I know Trump's going in, but things are happening in other parts of the world which affect African people too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Michelle mentioned something about how other countries are viewing this whole election and everything. What's the temperature like there in the UK as far as this whole thing goes?
So people in the UK, the majority of people in the UK despise Mr. Trump, his rhetoric, his policies, and, you know, everything that he stands for. His racism, his misogyny, etc. They despise him, basically, and the general population here are very surprised that he was voted in.
Yeah.
His policies really don't have much substance, but they appeal to what probably the right wing or the racist people in America. You know, so building the wall, preventing immigration, stopping Muslims coming into the country, that would appeal to a certain set of people. You know?
So do you feel? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, Sister Kim, you continue, please.
I was just going to ask. So do you feel like this is a time of, you know, like Dietrich was saying, of reformation, where, you know, we've talked a lot of stuff for a long time. Do you feel like, you know, things are just finally coming to a point where it's like, you know, put up or shut up? You know, it's just time to actually do something about it? Or do you feel, you know, like a lot of I'll say a lot of people that I've seen, like, post things and just different news articles or whatever, people are just kind of like, oh, you know, this is the death of America, and, you know, it's just like this, you know, everybody has such like a gloomy look on everything, but nobody's really focusing on, you know, what to do about it. Do you think this is just a time of transformation or integration or what?
I would always advocate, Sister Kim, for African Americans to be seeking to return to Africa in some form, to live. I would always advocate that. Now, my understanding of the little that I've read is that on the west coast of America, you've got earthquake plains, you know, where the plains are prone to shifting and earthquake. We've got global warming, which is eroding all of the coastline in America. So you've got the Carolinas going down to Florida, where the sea is eroding and the ocean is taking land. And on the west coast now, you've got the fallout from the Japanese nuclear disaster, which is contaminating all the fish and all the seaboard across the West Coast.
And in the Gulf. Yeah.
And in the Gulf, yeah. So, you know, for me, the environment is not one that I would really want to be raising my family or after me. So I would be definitely seeking to move out. That coupled with, not Bush, what's his name, Trump, that coupled with Trump would make me really be wanting to move because, you know, the sea, we know the power of the sea, we know the power of the ocean, and when it wants to come in and reclaim the land, it will do that.
Yeah.
And the earthquakes, when it wants to redesign the landscape, it will do that. So for me, if I was an African American living in the US, I'd be looking to leave and return to Africa for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, that's a different outlook than what Dietrich said. Dietrich, if you're still on the line, what do you think about that? Because that's something that I didn't even consider. You know, you were talking about, you know, the Gullah Nation and everything on the coast. That's something that is really important, something to consider.
I mean, we can do both. Just have a dual citizenship like Native Americans, like the down in Mississippi, the ones that's on the reservations. Technically, they have passports to leave that reservation. So just have both. Like there's like Chief said, we can have it all. Like for real, coming to America, we can have Zamunda in America, just like we got Zamunda in Africa. The only thing we're missing is numbers and the belief in each other. Because I was always under the impression that black people was the first to do everything anyway. So like if we who's to say, ain't no who's to say, when we put our minds to it, our greatest mind, we can develop a nation or a situation that's more conducive than how we live in now. People just hung up on these American creature comforts. But if you look at our society, wherever we went, we made an area better. It's like on some more like caravan type stuff. So like if like Brother Byron said, moving to Africa, that's very that's good now. But let's also remember who we're dealing with. We're dealing with Africans. So now that they know we coming over in numbers, they see dollar signs as well. So if we have land in Africa as well as keep our citizenship in the United States, we got both of them by the balls. Like, look, man, whoever treats us the best, that's where we coming. Because wherever we go, we create something good. So that's how you yeah.
Brother Dietrich, that's a bit of a generalization that returning people from the diaspora to Africa are going to be faced with people with dollar signs in their eyes. The government of Ghana have said that anybody from the West, any African person from the West that wants to repatriate to Ghana can do so and get full citizenship. And they have even supported people from the Americas and the Caribbean to return back to Ghana and to feel integrated into that society. So sometimes we develop mental barriers or imaginings, you know, to imagine things are harder than what they are. I'm not talking about the general overview of it, not all of them, but that's just something that we got to be prepared for. That's why, like, when you go places in Africa, you got to take somebody with you because they do see that. Like, because the chief has said that, like, they call you ATM when you go over there. So we going over there in numbers. I'm not talking about the government. I'm talking about the predators that would prey off of us. So just keep that at bay. Let's just play both sides of the fence and see what treats us the best. And then even in the African nation. But Brother Dietrich, there's predators that want to kill you in America. There's predators that don't want to see you alive where you are. And they want to poison your brain through education. They want to poison your body through the food and the water. And they are poisoning the land and the atmosphere that you're walking and living on. So within Africa, there may be some people that might want to make a quick Delassie or Naira or what have you because you've returned to Africa. But in my experience of being there, there are more loving people and more people that see us as brothers and sisters than those that I would consider to be predators.
Well, no, that's true. And I'm glad you feel that way because they do want us to come back. But I'm thinking ahead to where when that newness run out and we're starting to compete with them for jobs and stuff. Like I don't want what's happening in South Africa to happen to us. Because you guys, you are our brothers. Y'all come back home. We help you up. We get you gold. We get you land. We get you money. Now it's all fine and good until we start doing better than them where they're at. Now we let you come here. We give you money. We give you land. We give you gold. Now you have to pay us for helping you develop the area. But now, man, that wasn't the deal at first. I'm thinking like 10, 20 years down the line, because that's what they're going through in South Africa. Yeah, they're like, come down here and help us with these white folks. Now, when they started competing for the job, it's a problem. So that's what I'm saying. Like, have you ever been to Brother Dietrich? Have you ever been to the continent? Not yet. That's why I have to listen to what you're saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm just thinking ahead. So the example that you're quoting about South Africa is very different to West Africa because of their recent historical context. They had apartheid that was controlling that particular nation for a long time, and the impacts of apartheid are still current today in South Africa. In West Africa, that has not been the case. Yeah? So I think the best way to educate yourself on Africa, my brother, would be to travel there and gain your own experiences. Yeah? Well, you're absolutely right, Brother Byron, and I think that's something we need to, when we go, we need to go. Because I've already told that I'm gonna have to go to Africa, and the first thing that not only did my godparents say, but also my African family said, it's all fun, but don't go over there thinking them folks know you, because they don't. So when I go, I want to go with a brother like you or like T that can show me it's already that can show me where to avoid, because a lot of us just don't go over there green. We're in apartheid now, be it social as well as economic apartheid in the United States. So we already built for that. But what you're saying is you're looking at the silver lining. I'm looking at the thundercloud, and it takes both perspectives. Brother Dietrich, I'm talking from experience, my brother. Yeah, I'm saying, but like I said, you know more about it than I do. I'm just thinking of the worst case scenario because I haven't been. And when I do go, I want to go with somebody like like people. No problem. But I just think we should be careful that we don't repeat other people's stories or myths about the continent when we haven't got our own experience to measure that against.
Yeah. I think that's really important to think about, because for the most part, a lot of African Americans have that perception that you have, Dietrich. Like, we don't go there for vacation. We don't even associate with a lot of Africans here in the States. We don't try to strengthen those relationships or anything. And so that's the fear of a lot of African Americans. It's like, well, they don't like us anyway, so why am I going to go back there? You know, that's the whole thing. You know, so when you talk about, going back and going there to, start over and everything, it's like, how are you going to convince all these people that we think are going to start going there in the droves that that's not the right perception to have. That's not how it is. You know what I mean? We don't even travel there for vacation. And so to keep perpetuating that type of attitude is like, I think that's why we're not there in the numbers. But that's why it's so important for people, for us to link with brothers like Brother Byron, who know how to maneuver and have been there before. Like I said, that's the concern of a lot of people. We had a radio show about this, and every American has that concern. That's a hump that we're going to have to get over. And I think it's going to be brothers like Brother Byron that help us get over that hump. Because, like I said, I'm thinking down the line when the newness wear off. Like initially, but everyone knows that whenever you have somebody get put into an area with somebody else, there's going to be conflict over resources at some point. So, like, to prep people, to mentally prep people, I think that's something that our new nation can start doing, and start prepping us who have
for repatriation to the continent. So like I said, we hear horror stories and we hear fairy tales.
Let me bring in another caller. Let me bring in another caller real quick. This is 804. 804.
Hey, greetings.
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 How's everybody doing today?
We're well. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I just wanted to. I'm not exactly sure what the show is about because I've been coming in and out, but I did pick up on something that was said, and I would have to echo, the sentiments or the thoughts of Brother Byron in terms of folks going to Africa themselves and kind of developing their own, having their own experiences there because, I lived in Africa for 4 years. And one thing you realize when you get there is that there are people who have never been to the bush who live in Africa. And some of those people are the very people who come or visit the States. And so they have a weird perception of Africa themselves, even though they've never left or never left their country, primarily because maybe they were groomed or reared in a city, and maybe they went to a French school or something like that, or an English school or something like that, and they were educated in that manner, and that has kind of shaped their outlook or their perspective. So even the information you might get from a quote-unquote African in the States, it's important that you go yourself just because that African may not be as African as they appear to be. So.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why it's gonna take. That's really the barrier between us actually bringing it all together. Because, like I said, I have to go over there, and from the people that I know that goes back and forth, they were telling me up front, they was like, don't go out there about that EFA stuff, because they don't, you got a big class of them that don't believe in that. So you have to look at your religious or your spiritual perspective of where you're going to fit in at. So that's why it's going to take people like Brother Byron and the brother just called that will take us to areas where we can practice that without being persecuted or ridiculed or being, ostracized for our beliefs. Because like I said, a lot of Africans are straight up and down tell you, they teach worship. We do not do those things no more. We are civilized people. We don't do that. They'll tell you that to your face when you ask them about it. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that's a program that we're going to have to do if we're going to do it, a repatriation program that prepares and preps the American mind to go deal with an African environment from an African perspective, but as well as what we're trying to do when we get there. That's just what I think that's going to have to be done if it's going to be done right.
May I come in for a moment? Brother Dietrich,
yeah.
IFA and Vodun are recognized, I'm going to say the word, but they're recognized religions in both Benin and Nigeria. In Nigeria, you've got a split of Christians and Muslims, and many of them will follow their traditional practices on the quiet. So they might give you the view of being a devout Christian or Muslim, but they will definitely align with their cultural practices of Ifa, etc. Because Ifa in Nigeria and Benin, Ifa and Voodoo are woven into the culture. So it's not something that is separate to the liberty of those nations. It's interwoven into the culture. So I think that sometimes we really need to be careful how we just repeat things. I'm going to say it again, how we repeat things which may not necessarily be the case. In Benin, Voodoo is a recognized religion by the government. Traditional practices are recognized by the government in Nigeria. So I think it's just important that we don't tie ourselves up with myths and stories. So, for example, I'm going to give another example, which I think I might have shared at the earlier show. the last time I was in Lagos, I took a few selfies and so forth, and I was behind I was in downtown Lagos. I was behind some skyscrapers and the museums there and so forth. And I was sending the photos back to my family and friends in the UK, some of them who never knew that I travelled. And those that never knew that I travelled were asking me if I was in downtown New York, because they never imagined that Lagos and other parts of Africa would have skyscrapers, office blocks, apartments, everything that we in the West might call affluent. But if we think we've got it, we can see affluence in the West. If you go to Nigeria, for example, you will see an abundance of wealth. But in Nigeria, often in Nigeria, you will see that there's a social responsibility that many rich folk have that they often don't display in the West, because there's no welfare state and there's no benefits, you see. So the wealthy know that they've got an obligation to give alms or to give to the poor or to be generous in more often than not. So I just think it's really important that we don't repeat things negatively about Africa if we haven't had a personal experience. Hello? Hello?
You kind of cut out on...
Oh, sorry.
Are we still on?
864? Yes.
Oh.
Did you have a comment?
Hello?
No, there was just a pause. I didn't know if I was off or on. Or...
No, you're on.
Okay.
Wow. This is what I was saying, Brother Byron. That's why I'm saying all Americans got to go off of is hearsay. Anytime, to be completely technical with it, everything, until we've been to Ile Ife, and until we've been to Oyo State, Osogbo, until we've been to Edo State, everything we hear about Ifa is hearsay because we haven't experienced it. So I'm just being realistic based off of the concerns of people that I am interacting with. That's why I keep referring back to the fact that it's so important for you to just show us. And we have to start implementing those programs. That way we won't be having nightmares about it when we go. And that way we won't be having preconceived notions that aren't even true based off what we heard. Because like I said, anything is hearsay until you see it yourself. Like the pyramid. You don't really know. You can research all you want, but none of us will see what you do. So it's hearsay.
Brother Dietrich, there was a time in my life, Brother Dietrich, when I hadn't been to Africa. And so when I touched the land of Africa, I can remember touching the land of Africa for the first time. I had no experience of Africa. So I think it's beholden on to everybody to try and break through that process and actually going to Africa to get their own experience. Because I might travel with you, Brother Dietrich, and my knowledge of Africa is very, very limited. And if you are following me, then the experiences that you might that might be for you as a new person visiting Africa, as a person visiting or returning to Africa for the first time, you may not have those experiences because you're following Brother Byron. So for me, it's about us being assertive and using that assertiveness and that Ogun energy and saying, yes, I'm going to go into the unknown and I'm going to have my wits about me and my eye is going to be locked on and, I'm going to get a reading before I travel and I'm going to go and find my own experiences and make my own judgments. Because your views of Africa based on your experiences, Brother Dietrich, might be very different to mine, but at least they were based on experience.
Exactly. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say I agree with that, and I think also it's you can't leave it up to anyone to take you to Africa. I think you just have to decide to go. You don't want it to become an excuse, which is what it kind of sounds like when you say, well, that's what we're missing, that's what I need. Well, at some point, you probably, if it's a need, if it's necessary, it's probably something you have to step up and do on your own, or either set up a trip with Brother Byron. I mean, in terms of when he's going next, or he may be going this summer, or whatever. You might have to do that. But you can't use it as an excuse.
Well, no, it's no excuse. I will go over there like I've been living there my whole life. It's not an issue with me. You can just drop me off and leave me in the bush, and I'm fine. I'll find a way. But I'm thinking in terms of the mass numbers it's gonna take to get this thing to come around full circle. Not everybody is open-minded enough to be that intelligent to look at it from that perspective. Because, like I said, I'm talking from experience from what just happened to me the other day. I want to go with you. I ain't going unless you go. I want to go with you. So, that's how I feel about Brother Byron. I trust you. I don't trust nobody else to go. But if I need to go by myself, I will. But if we're going to do this thing in large numbers, we're going to have to address the mindset of the majority of the people that's going over there. Because a lot of people either worship Africa or is demonized. So how are we going to get a group of people with the knowledge, skills, and abilities to help us build a nation when they don't look at Africa in the proper context and they never been, and all they got is hearsay from not only Africans that came back, Americans that came back, that's National Geographic as well as history books. So it's not just hearsay from the people; it's hearsay from what we read in YouTube. So I'm just addressing the whole herd, not just a few black sheep.
Okay. Well, by providing Brother Dietrich, so I would imagine. Well, my expectation is that the men would go first, and then they would pave the way for their families to follow them. So, being a man, I need somebody to give me information and evidence before I can make a decision that I'm going to return all of my family, my wife and children, to Africa. Because as a man, I need to make sure that the environment that they're going into is going to be fine for my family. So the only way I can get my information by speaking to people in the know, but I can only get my evidence the best way to get evidence is through experience. So we as men have to lead the way. And by leading the way, it may mean leaving your family home for a few months, what have you, to go and develop your own experiences, develop your own networks and your own links with the leaders or the clans or the chiefs in whichever country or region you're going to visit. We have to be bold enough to take ourselves out of our perceived comfort zone and return to a country where we are not familiar, where we know.
There's a lot of background noise. So if you're not speaking, can you please mute your line?
My apologies.
Okay. But before you go, the caller that was saying that they lived in Africa for 4 years, I wanted to ask you, what was your reason for moving and why did you come back?
I actually went to work as a volunteer. I was in the Peace Corps.
Oh,
and
okay.
my reason for going was because I felt like it was not a free ticket, but it was one of the few times or the few opportunities I was going to have to visit Africa and stay for a prolonged period. I needed to learn a language. I actually went thinking I was going to learn French more than anything else. I learned Wolof. I lived in Senegal, West Africa, and so I learned both languages, and that was my ticket. That was the only way I knew that I was going to be able to go for, like I said, an extended period of time.
Okay.
And learn the language and the culture.
What was your experience while you were there?
I mean, it's vast. It's hard to say. In some ways, I wish I'd gone today, as an older man, I guess. Because there were some opportunities to get involved in traditional religious practices at that time that I didn't, I just didn't go down the rabbit hole like I would have today. Even though I got readings done and things of that nature, but I was approached by people at different times to kind of hang out and see what was happening, what was going on, to get an inside view, and I didn't take it. I lived right outside of a place called Tuba, which is it's like the Mecca. If you and so that tells you and then the weird thing is that I even did my bloodline. I traced my African, the DNA sequences, and I actually I have my father's line. My mother's line is actually Senegalese, which was even more odd. So it was for me, and that's why I did it.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Let me bring in another caller. This is 347. 347.
Peace, Sister Kim. Peace, Brother Byron. Peace, brother.
Peace.
How is everybody doing today?
I'm well.
We're good, thank you. We're good, sister.
Okay, that's good, Brother DJ. Glad you maintained. I just was listening to Sister Michelle and Sister Kim talk about, Trump and everything. And that just reminded me of something that I heard on the first Chief Speaks, the one with the numerology. I'm still breaking it down, but I wrote down something that I think is really pertinent to the subject that Chief said. And it says that a real man proves and disproves the next man based on the manifestations, not through words. Only the goat people uses paper to disprove someone, and the goat people eat the paper, so they eat it up. Mm-hmm. So the words on the paper have never proven who we are. And I want to say, I think the point "we" is good to highlight. Who is we? Because I don't think that everybody is suited to go back to Africa. There are some people that are still hung up on the paper, on the benefits, on the health care, on just the legal stuff. And I don't think everybody is mentally situated where they can really go back to a natural state. Anyways, I'll continue. Says the words on paper were never used to prove who we are. We have proven who we are through our manifestations. And he was speaking specifically about the two brothers that have been fighting in the conscious community, and I think he was referring to men. I think I might not apply to women, but like Brother Byron said, it's good that the men go and see what's going on and then build something, and then they can take their families with them, or they can build a new family over there. There's no reason why we gotta be pushing people out if they don't want to come. You could easily just go to Africa, find a wife there that's more aligned to the natural state of womanhood, femininity, and then build your own family there. That's all I wanted to share.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. This was what I was thinking, because everything she said was absolutely right. Not everybody's cut to do that, and just like Marcus Garvey said, just like it's no good black people in America. We don't need to take them no good black people to Africa with us. And what I mean by us, those who have a Pan-African ideology that's willing to work for a congruent relationship between the continent and where we at now. But my question to the brother, because I'm listening to what Brother Byron says, I'm listening to what the brother says. It's two different perspectives right there that people who haven't been have not been. So, would you suggest that the brothers just go there as a trial by fire and just see what you experience, or should we go with someone who's been before? and that way you develop, like you said, develop your own lexicon. Then I'm not taking no guide. I'm gonna learn the language like a trial by fire. Like it's a rite of passage into the society where you go to Africa and you make something out yourself, not knowing the language, not knowing nobody, and you make something out yourself. Or do we go develop a program where brothers who've been there, lived there, and from there that can help assist the American men in getting that done? Which do y'all think would be more effective?
I think the most effective route would be the route that Ether suggests or defines. So Ether might say go on your own, Brother Dietrich, or Ether might say go with a group of brothers that you know from the US, or go with me, or go with Chief. So that's what I would say. So interestingly, the brother I don't know the brother that was just on. I didn't get his name, but his perspective was very different to mine. But because he went to Senegal, which is a neighbouring country of Gambia, so I know Gambia, I've popped into Senegal one time. But when he was speaking and describing being in Senegal, I was imagining the buildings, the red dirt, the drums, the smell of the food. I was just imagining what it might be like, what his experience of being in Senegal might be. And if I didn't have that known experience of being in that part of West Africa, it would all be imaginings. But the Wolof people that he mentioned, you might recall I mentioned Wolof when I was speaking about Gambia earlier. They're the same people. So many people in Gambia have got blood relatives in Senegal and so forth. So I would really say, if not each way, his learning was fantastic for him, because to have 4 years on the continent of Africa, you can't buy that. You can't buy that. And the gentleman said he was in the Peace Corps. I'm not sure whether he was being paid or whether he just had his allowances taken care of. But whatever the deal, you cannot buy that experience of 4 years in the continent. And I'm certain it would have changed him as an individual and changed his perspective on life based on having those 4 years there. So for me, Brother Dietrich, if you're serious about going, get your monies together and then get a reading as to say, where should you go, whom should you go with, and then just make your break and get your experience and then come back with that known experience, because it will have a massive impact on you. Trust me, it will. It will.
Well, yeah, that's in the process of being manifested right now. That's why I was asking. That's why I was saying, like, you know, I have to go with somebody. Like, I have to take them with me. So, like, that's just my personal experience first. That's my personal experience. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with someone the first time I go. But I'm just saying, in general,
that makes sense.
Far as, yeah. So but I'm saying, like, is this a potential program that we can implement? Like how like, you know, a lot of the Europeans send their children to Prague or the UK for summer before they go to college. They have like study abroad programs that take care of that. Is that something that the brothers within our new nation can develop as well, based off the reading of how they're supposed to get there? So, like, if there's a group of brothers that the reading said take a guide with you, we'll be the guide, because we've been over there a couple of times. If I say go by yourself, just go by yourself. But the ones that have to go over there with guides, do you think that that's a valid program? That's something that we could offer as far as like as far as American Africans taking people over there, because we've been there before? Is that a program that we can implement if we're going to take it serious, like repatronizing like career? Because no one ever really just took it that serious to where there's a patronization program that's set up just for Black American men to go repatronate that area. Is that something that you think is viable?
Sorry, brother, you go ahead.
No, if I could, I don't think it's necessary to have a program. To be honest, like you want what you want to avoid, and what you'll see, if you'll notice if you go to many African countries, is that they have these neighborhoods of Europeans or folks who are from the West who are making a certain amount of money, who may run certain NGOs or things of that nature over there, And these people, they have children and everything, and they live there for years. They never learn the language. They never interact with the people outside of them, maybe cleaning their homes. In some ways, I think it's more advantageous for you to go alone and to have to adapt. Because if you do go with someone, I saw this happen in Peace Corps, because most of the people that go are white. I was the only brother that was there, really. So that allowed me to actually move unnoticed to a degree. But white folks would come in, or other European folks would come in, and they would, look to get together. They would party together. When are we going to meet here? When are we going to do that? And then by the end of the train, or not the end of the training, by the end of their tenure, they did very poorly on their exits because they test you afterwards. How well did you master the language? And some people didn't learn any language because they were too busy hanging out with people that were already like them, trying to feel comfortable the entire time. If you don't put yourself in a situation of discomfort and struggle, it's going to be difficult to really grow and break through. That's my honest opinion.
Yeah, I think that was a really good point that you brought up. Before you continue, Dietrich, there's another caller, 202.
Hello, this is Miyami.
Greetings.
Greetings. I think it was May of last year that I went to Lagos. I did have my godmother is a yeye of Lagos, Oshun. So I did have a point of contact when I went. And my godfather lived here. He constantly went back and forth from Nigeria to Guinea to Senegal. So I had someone that was there to help me guide me through, because when I got there, they was trying to tell me that I needed to give them money because my yellow fever, I didn't wait 3 weeks for my yellow fever. But we're not required to have yellow fever here. So it's information, so we had to talk to them about it. And if it wasn't for him, I probably would have ended up giving them money just to get through, because I didn't know the customs and the way that they did things over there. So if you have someone that is able to prep you beforehand, you are easier to navigate through some of, particularly the bureaucracy or the corruption that you're immediately faced when you get there. Plus, I'm one to take, I don't negotiate. And that custom, they negotiate. So it's something that mentally I had to get used to, the idea of someone coming up with outrageous prices for things, knowing that in their mind that they had to negotiate. I would have to negotiate things down, and that's the way they do things. But for me, you tell me a particular price, that's the price that I generally pay, because that's what you mean, because I'm taking you by your word that this is how much it costs. Now with the idea that they up things so that you can negotiate, and that builds relationships with them. So I would suggest, if you don't go by yourself, at least know, if you have to go by yourself, to know the customs and the way that they manage things and how they do things there, so that when you get there, you're not completely shocked and you're able to roll with the punches.
Yeah. What was your experience like when you were there? How long did you stay?
In fact, I'm going back next month.
Okay.
I'm going back next month. It was like home. But because my godmother lived there, so also I was at home because I'm with her.
Yeah. Also, you're a woman too, so that sheds a whole new light on, a completely different light on it. That as women, we do need someone to guide us, like Brother Byron was saying earlier. Have the men to go and scope things out first. So you had a guide. So I think that has a lot to do with your experience as well. But I'm glad you had a rewarding experience when you did go. Did you have anyone like from the States that was kind of telling you, no, you shouldn't go there because those people are like this or those people are like that?
My husband. But I knew that just like Dietrich, I'm sorry, Brother Brian, I can't remember which one. It was saying that he has to go. It's your spirit calling to you to go. And I knew that once I determined that's what I need to do, as previously discussed, I'm on it. I'm doing it. Yeah. It doesn't matter. Even if I had to go by myself. Like this time I have to go by myself. But I'm going. And I'm going to make it work. I'm glad I had the previous experience so I know what to think, how to go through things. Because there will be something else that comes up as I go through customs.
Yeah. Is your husband going with you this time? Or are you going by yourself?
I'm going all by myself.
Well, did you talk about your experience there when you got back, and how did he feel? Did it change his perception, or how does he feel about it now?
He still feels the same way. Are you going to do it?
Yeah.
But one day I do desire to get him there so that he can see the difference. But I also have a better appreciation for Nigerian culture, for Yoruba culture. And there's good things and bad things about being here. But I want to take those good things and be able to share my continent. Yeah. You know, that's my home. This is not my home. And eventually I will retire in Africa somewhere. Not sure it's going to be like that.
Why did you feel like it was home? What was it about traveling there that made it feel like you were at home?
I can't even, it was just a feeling. They were very welcoming, and then when they noticed my appreciation for their culture and my humbleness to learn, they really took me in. Yeah. And I didn't have I told you that my godmother is there, so she was very helpful and very accommodating, because there's certain things that I do not eat. Made sure that I had everything that I needed. Very good host. And that made a difference compared to going out on my own. I always had security. We didn't go anywhere without security. But she was hood. Well, we consider hood.
Okay. I think that was a big point that you made. It was your humbleness to learn is what makes a huge difference in everything. Just the humbleness to learn and to be a part of what's going on, not necessarily just coming with your own agenda, but Chief spoke about this before. It's like coming over and saying what's needed, or appreciating what's already there, and an openness to say, teach me, or I'm not trying to force anything on the people that are already there. I'm here to learn and to be a part of something. I think that changes the whole perspective.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Okay, Brother Dietrich, you were saying something earlier before I took the call.
No, I was just saying, I was just listening to the brother's perspective. Like Brother Byron had said, getting counsel before you go. And like I said, individually, that was the counsel that I was given, as far as make sure that you don't look at it, don't go over there googly eyed, especially if you're going over there for a purpose. So like you said, like the openness to learn, and it's not a conquest. It's just you're going over there for whatever reason you got to get there. Everybody's personal reason for going is different. My concern is stemming back from the conversation about the brother was talking about succeed. Now, if we're going to succeed, we got to have a global ally. If we're going to have a global ally, then we have to train people that will go over there that's going to do just that. And that's why I was asking Brother Byron and other brothers, how they feel our program would work, our repatriation program. That way we're not going over there wasting resources, because you can go over there and get lost in something and just be on a whole nother mission than from what you actually came to do, when the intention is to create allies, not just be in a state of bliss, because you're learning so much different stuff, you know. So keeping focused and keeping your resources intact, and where we have a program where we're building a big, you know, a global ally with the human resource we have here as well as there. That's the line I was thinking about the training program, not so much as just, you know, going just for your own personal gain, just for repatriation and obtaining allies and resources. Like I believe in what the brother said. Just go and see what you find out. But how many people can go over there and waste resources because they're not being intelligent or being knowledgeable or sharp enough to go to a place like that by themselves? You know, so that was my question. But I said I'm a firm believer of going somewhere with somebody who has gone before. That way they can tell you, okay, don't waste your time here. You will get the most out of this, and the rest of it you'll be drawn to when you get there. You know, like the alchemy, you got to go through that. Like that, you got to go through that trial by fire area. But it's good to have a guide as well, because I think that's what EFI is in life. EFI is a guide for humans on how to navigate this realm of reality that we own currently. So it ain't like we just going through life just seeing what we fall into, although it will happen. But EFI is the guide. Once we find the guide, we get more out of it, you know. So that's what I was thinking. Like, is it best to just go and find out on your own and let that be a form of initiation, or go with somebody that will help you get the most out of it? Whereas you, with your own self, because you're so emotionally connected to it, won't be able to pay attention like a person would who's been there. Like, yeah, that's cool. No, man, would you look at the trees, man? Look at that's a zebra over there. You're just so shocked about that you're not paying attention to your surroundings, because you're just in a state of bliss. So that's why I was thinking, like, there should be a program, because there's going to be a lot of brothers that's going to go over there and see women that they ain't never seen before. Like, look, bro, pay attention to what you're doing. Don't get caught up in this skirt chasing. We got to come over here, and we got to make sure we're not pissing these people off while you over here messing with somebody's wife or something. Stay on task, you know? Like, that's what I was thinking.
Okay. I just wanted to announce that we've got about 15 minutes left in the show. The number to call is 515-605-9862. And if you are on the line, for everybody that's on the line, by the way, your mic is still on. So if you'd like to unmute your phone and make a comment, that's fine. And for those of you who are still listening, if you'd like to make a comment, just press the number 1 and I'll definitely bring you in. We're just kind of talking about solutions to the newly elected president. Well, that's how it started off. We have a lot of people who are just kind of in this state of, you know, what do we do now? Now that Trump is elected, and, you know, some people say, you know, things aren't really going to change a whole lot because, you know, whether we know it or not, or realize it or not, this the office of presidency, or just, you know, American government, the president is really merely a figurehead. And, you know, this came up with Obama's presidency. You know, a lot of people realized that and made those excuses for him. But, you know, with Trump, for some reason, everybody feels like he's just about to take over and things are just going to completely flip. But there are a lot of advisors and people behind him and councils and things and behind him that are really kind of still making a lot of the decisions. And this is like a fraternity, the presidency. You know, we find out that a lot of the presidents are related. You know, the agenda behind government or whatever is still the same, no matter who the face is that they choose to represent it. You know, so I don't know. I think a lot of it kind of boils down to race. You know, you have a lot of people that felt comfortable with American policies and the direction the country was going when Obama was in the seat, because, you know, that was the face that we saw. So it kind of lulled us to sleep a little bit. You know, we were very forgiving or even, you know, ignoring a lot of the policies and things that were passed while he was in office because we had a black face there. You know, we had a black family there that looked good, and it made us feel more accepted and more comfortable. And now that we have transitioned out of that and we've gone back to the traditional look of American government, everybody kind of feels this pressure or feels like, oh, things are, you know, like as if we're going back to slavery or something. You know, I think that's a huge part of it that nobody's really talking about. You know, aside from the things that Trump has said, we still have to remember, you know, presidents make a lot of promises and say a lot of things before actually being in office. So who's to say that any of his ideas or the things that he touted, you know, before becoming president are even going to come to pass? Because you still have different agendas that work behind the face, behind, you know, the person that said all of these things, you know, that they promised or had all these different opinions. It's very different once you get in the seat. You know what I mean? Once you get the title, some of how things change and how you may have to go back on some of the things that you said or refine some of the things you said. You realize, okay, this is not as realistic as I thought it was. So I think race played a huge part of it, and I think that's the thing that most African Americans are feeling more so than really looking at it, because, you know, what did President Obama actually do for African American people? What policies or things, what was put in place that made those 8 years so great for African Americans? You know, I don't think that people are really looking at that. I think they're just kind of feeling, you know, just it's just the race thing, just looking at the face of what represents American government now. That's hurting more than anything. You know. Anyway, what do you all think about that? Those of you that are still on the line.
I think Obama was a big sleeping pill.
Yeah.
Because now
I think so
too. Because like now he's out of office. Now when Trump and his folks get in there, I'm like, now you colored folks ain't asked Obama to do nothing for you. Now don't ask me for nothing, because y'all didn't ask it to him. So don't come bothering me, because you can't be too concerned about it, because he didn't address it. That's been my issue with that.
Mm-hmm. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say it kind of goes back to what maybe your previous show, I think, about education.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it just speaks to a lack of, folks don't take initiative a lot of times because they don't really know what the purpose or the reason for certain actions are. You know, why would you do this? Why would you go to Abbott? Why would you learn this? Why would you master algebra? And so the whole thing just becomes an exercise, kind of like when we were, you know, we still in that Mr. Miyagi stage as black folks, where we are kind of painting the fence or washing the car.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got a certain number of skills. We just don't know how to put them together. And I think it also comes into play when you look at the system that's in place and how we kind of maneuver in that system and how we even view it. Because we're not looking at it from the standpoint of, you know, how can this work for me, or how can I manipulate this thing? How can I take it over? It's more so, you know, it's just not that. There's no real imperative. There's no demand being made, and there's also no purpose or reason behind a lot of the action. So that's what I'm seeing. But the thing is that I'm realizing, I think, is that you know, slowly but surely, I think people like yourselves are, you know.
Are you still there?
I cleared up.
Let's see. 804, are you still there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I think your call dropped or whatever. Go ahead, continue.
Okay, I was in the basement.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that perception is changing now with people like yourselves, Brother Dietrich, Brother Byron, Chief. People are starting to determine or decide, their course for moving forward based on what it is that's going to benefit them most. And I think that's the one thing that's missing from the conversation a lot of times when we talk about politics or when we talk about even math or algebra, for our children.
Yeah.
So, they know how to do the math problem, they just don't know how to build a water park,
Right.
So,
right.
The application.
Knowledge and wisdom. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Actually putting into practice what you're learning. And I think that's a huge part of it. It's like and I feel like that's the time that we're in. It's just, it's time now to actually act on all of the things that we say we want or say that we do, that we want to do, or the things that we've complained about, because we've lost generations of people who have, tried different things. So we've got a long list of we've got a huge book of history to go back, look at, analyze, see what they did, see where they went wrong, see what didn't work. We've got a long line of that, to kind of go back and look at and determine, okay, based on this person's movement, this is what happened. These were the goals. These were the aims. But this is what didn't work. This is where they made a mistake. So how can we go back and look at all of those different examples and analyze them, really, really look at it and analyze it and come up with a plan to move forward? And I think, like you said, people like Chief, different organizations, that's something that we can really sit down and look at objectively and say, okay, this is what worked, this is what didn't work. To continue to just go blindly into a situation just based off emotion is really an ignorant kind of thing to do. And I think a lot of people are just kind of stuck in that state where they're just like, we just got to do something. We got to do something. And, Chief has said, we have the shortest memory. We're not a people of memory. So that's something I think that is very important to do, to just go back and analyze, see what worked, see what didn't work, and not to get so caught up in the emotion of it all and feeling like, oh, now my life is over, Trump is in office. Go back and really analyze the policies and things that were done or that were put into place with all the presidents. Look at the movements of, all of your ancestors and things and see what worked and what didn't work. Because, like I said, the president is really like just a figurehead. There are a lot of people that have that pass laws and have a lot of different input, not just the president. The president doesn't just say, okay, this is how it's going to be. I don't care what anybody else says. So there's a lot of things that should be looked at and analyzed before we just get emotional and just kind of drop out or just feel like everything is just doomed. You know what I mean? And I don't think that that's something that we do all the time. We've got too much information now. We've got so much information on just, take the Black Panthers, for example. What did they do right? What did they do wrong? Not get so emotionally attached to the people or the movement itself, but really kind of analyze and look at what exactly worked and what didn't work. What does the government, what are they trying to, what's the agenda here? Not necessarily the people, the face that we see that represents it. What's the agenda? What's going on here? Like you said, it's a matter of educating yourself and just taking a good look at it. I'm going to bring, I think this is Dietrich back in. I think his call dropped. Dietrich, are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I'm back.
Oh, okay.
I was just listening, but I was thinking, like, while you were saying that, I'm like, I think you're right. How do we exploit how do we, take advantage of a situation where it works to our advantage? as opposed to like the doom and gloom. Like, how do we exploit the people who are trying to exploit us?
Yeah.
Not only defeated.
Caller, go ahead.
I stepped over him. I know he probably had a little more to say.
No, I was saying, how do we not only defeat these people, but profit off of it as well? We need to, yeah, like that's my thing. Like we always trying to catch up, but how do we take advantage of what the current system is? Like Chief had put it perfectly. Moving forward by looking backwards. That means you always going somewhere you've never been. So like we're gonna have to do something different. Not only that, but just change how we view it. Sometimes are we gonna throw the baby out with the bathwater, or are we gonna just take advantage? We know that the Congress and the Senate are the ones who run everything. So how do we take advantage of that to our advantage? They're gonna do it regardless. If we're not gonna succeed, and if we just not gonna completely leave, how do we take advantage of how the government is set up to where it works within our advantage, like the Hasidic Jews do?
Yeah. I was going to say when you both were talking, it reminded me of I used to do some investing back in the day, and they've got two ways of analyzing information. One is called fundamental analysis, which they tell you not to do because you can't get as much information as the big boys. What they tell you to use is the secondary approach, which is called technical analysis. And technical analysis is really based off of the movements of the market. And the market is telling you, basically how people are responding, the emotional state at the time. And so it's weird that, in Yoruba culture, the market is such a central part of the culture, and that we don't study the market as much as we should. But basically, the market is an emotional place, and the people who are able to bargain the best are the people almost who are able to notice where the profit is, or who's the most desperate, or where the scarcity is, or where the abundance is at the same time. The seasonality, okay, mangoes and market. Everybody's got mangoes today, but nobody's got oranges. So the guy selling oranges today, it's the same sort of mindset that we have to take from a political standpoint when we approach these things. When we want to quote unquote profit, there's certain things that we should probably emphasize with regards to education. Africa was mentioned. In terms of another market that may be underserved. I remember back in the day when I remember reading about this, and I've never been to Japan, but there was a white man that went to Japan after they blew it up with the atom bomb. And this man went over there and showed them how to do the assembly line, all of that stuff. And he profited greatly because he went to a place where nobody else went. He was the only game in town, and not only that, he came with cash. Probably not a lot of cash. So we have to look for the inefficiency in the market. We got to look at where the emotions are and the psychology of the market, and we got to also understand. There was another point that I wanted to make, but we gotta kind of get into that and start to read the signs that are being given to us. And I think, like you said, the fact that he's leaving, should we be focused on his skin color and all those things, or should we be looking at the policies that were put in place, what they have before them, or what schools our children are going to, where technology is heading, Africa. There's so many things to emphasize, so you can get lost in the sauce if you pay too much attention to that other stuff.
Definitely. I think that's a great point to end the show on. We've actually gone into archives just a little bit, but I just wanted to thank everybody for your comments, for your contributions to the show. It was a really good discussion. I think it left us with a lot to process and to think about. If you didn't get a chance to catch the inauguration, you might want to go back and check it out. But I think that a lot of great points were touched on here, and I think it's something that we definitely, owe it to ourselves and to our families to kind of investigate and to really focus on or really pay attention to, just to see, where are we headed and what's our plan, and to not get so emotionally, just emotionally shook by, the figurehead changing. I just can't stress that enough. So, it's just something to think about again, and I think it's a really important topic. So thank you all for contributing. Thank you for calling in, and we'll be back on Monday. Everybody enjoy your day. Peace.